Hi there, welcome to Missouri History Museum's virtual homeschool day for May 2020. We are celebrating the 200th birthday of James Eads, and this video is part of our virtual craft room. My name is Allison, and we're going to be making a 3D effect drawing of the Eads Bridge. It's going to look something like this. Eads was a self-taught inventor, engineer, and architect. He invented salvage vessels to explore the river bottom for wreckage left by sunken steamboats. He was later commissioned to design ironclad warships used by Union forces in the Civil War. But Eads is probably most known for the Eads Bridge, which is what we're going to focus on for this activity. And here is a photo of the Eads Bridge. Before we get started on our activity, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about the Eads Bridge. Starting in the 1830s, people really began to see a need for a bridge because the only way to get trains across the Mississippi River was to use a ferry, but bridge building technology was just not all that reliable. Then in 1867, construction began on a bridge designed by Eads. It was equipped to handle pedestrians, streetcars, and trains. But both the style and materials were considered radical for the time. Many people didn't think the bridge was even going to be possible. But then in 1874, the bridge was finally complete. To prove its stability, they had an elephant cross it to test the bridge's strength. To further prove the bridge's strength, they brought 14 locomotives across. The bridge still stands today, and the last train crossed in 1974, a century after it opened. It closed temporarily in 1992 for some much-needed repairs, but when it reopened, instead of running trains across it, it now carries the Metrolink. All right, now it's time to get going on our activity. As I said earlier, we're going to be creating a 3D effect drawing of the bridge. For inspiration, we're going to use this lithograph that I found in the Missouri Historical Society's digital collection. And here's a copy of it here. You can find a list of the supplies that you need in the link below. All right, now it's time to get started. So on your paper, you're just going to be drawing an image in pencil. It can be detailed, it doesn't have to be detailed. I am certainly not expecting artist quality here. You can draw the entire image from the lithograph, you can draw a segment of the image from the lithograph. It's really up to you. The only thing I suggest about this part is when you're using pencil, just make sure and draw lightly because you are going to be erasing those pencil marks later. All right, let's get started. All right, so now we're all finished with our pencil drawing. And there were a couple things that I just kind of wanted to point out to you. Number one, you'll notice that I actually drew a little streetcar in there. All right, those were horse-drawn streetcars. I put a train on the rail deck down below. And you may be wondering why I drew these statues here. But in early depictions of the bridge, there were 8 statues that were actually supposed to stand on each of the piers, but they never actually got installed. Our next step is going to be, we're going to find a red pen. Any red pen will do, even a red marker will do. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be going over all of your pencil marks in red. All right, so let's get started on that. Now that you've gone over your image in red pen, it's time to get out your blue pen. Any blue pen will work, blue markers will work as well. The one thing I find with this step is that the 3D effect works best if you try to keep your blue lines about 1 millimeter away from the red lines. Or if you're using a larger piece of paper, this is the example that my son did, and we went a little bit further out even just because the 3D effect does work better that way on larger paper. All right, so now it's time to get going in blue pen. All right, we're almost done. So the last thing that we have to do is take an eraser and erase out those pencil marks. I do find a high polymer eraser works the best, but any eraser will do. So let's get going on that. All right, now you are ready to look at your image through 3D glasses. I had a pair lying around my house. So we already had some 3D glasses. If you don't have any 3D glasses, not to worry. You can just stick around and I will teach you how to make a pair. Here's everything that you're going to need in order to make these 3D glasses, and you can find a list of supplies in the link below. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make the lenses, and we're going to do that by cutting them out of clear plastic. And I do find, old fruit containers work well. And then once you're done cutting those out, you're going to color one of those lenses red and then one of them blue. And then you can just set them aside to dry. So let's get started. All right, I've got my lenses cut out, and I did just want to remind you that this is where you're actually going to be using your permanent markers to color. So we can get started on that. All right, now I'm going to put those markers away. I'm going to set my lenses to the side to give them lots of time to dry. And now we are going to work on the frames. So here is a template that you can use. You can either print it out and just use flimsy paper. You can print it out on cardstock. You can print it out and then cut it out, trace it onto more sturdy paper. It really doesn't matter. It just depends on what you want your glasses to look like. I found this blue folder, and so that's what I'm going to be using for my 3D glasses. So for my 3D glasses, I printed out the template and then cut it out. And then I traced it onto my folder, and now I'm ready to cut it out. So we can start cutting. All right, now you should have your glasses all cut out, the frames for them, and we're going to bring in our lenses, which are hopefully nice and dry. My recommendation is to take these glasses frames and you're going to want to fold them in half. Just makes it a little bit easier when you're later on dealing with the glue. And then what we're going to do first is we're actually going to take our glue stick. We're going to put a little on each side because we're going to put the arms in first. Place one arm on that side. And then put the other one on the other side. And then we're going to put a little bit of glue around the rims of where you would cut out those holes, and this is going to be where our lenses are going to go. So we're going to add a little glue there. Take the blue lens first. Put that in. I'm going to do the red one next. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to put some glue on that flap. I want to put pretty good coat on it. This is going to be what's going to hold those lenses in place. So then you fold it down. And then you can bend those arms up so they have a good fold. Probably want to leave them to dry for a little bit. Let that glue dry. And now you have a pair of 3D glasses to look at your 3D image. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me. You can find other craft room videos and more online learning opportunities at mohistory.org. Thank you. Bye.